Hello friends, a very good afternoon to all of you and a warm welcome once again on the YouTube channel of BYJU'S Exam Prep. Now friends, you must have attended some of these sessions that I have conducted in last 1.5 month in which we basically discussed about the basics of quant, and in this series of sessions we started with the basics of number systems. So in the last 1.5 month I have conducted 5 to 6 sessions in which I have discussed the basics of number systems, and I have included each and every area of number system in detail. Now, continuing with this series of sessions, today I'm going to start with the next series of basics of quants for all the students who are preparing for CAT 2023 and the other management entrance test. Now, today we are going to start with the basics of arithmetic, and this series of sessions will include a total of 5 sessions, including today's session, and all these sessions will be conducted on the Tuesdays of the month of March. So after today's session, we'll be having one session each on the basics of arithmetic that will be conducting on the upcoming Tuesdays in the month of March. So the dates for these sessions, I'll be also telling you all these dates during the session. So the dates for these sessions will be 7, 14, 21 and 28th of March. And on each of these days, we'll be discussing one complete topic of arithmetic in detail. I'll give you some more information about these sessions in today's session. So this session today, this is an introductory session for the basics of arithmetic, where we'll be talking upon these agendas for this entire session. So first of all, we'll talk about what are the different topics covered under arithmetic. Then on each of these areas, on each of these topics of arithmetic, we'll be talking about the basics of these areas. So we'll be starting with the basic concepts of percentages in today's topic. All right, in today's session. Now, basics of percentages, I'll be very brief in discussing about the basics of percentages in profit and loss as well as in simple interest, compound interest. Now, a detailed session on percentages will be conducted on 7th of March, right, in which I'll be discussing in detail about the concepts of percentages, and I have refined all these sessions for all of you. So I'll also be including the previous year paper questions which have come on percentages or on each of these topics. So on 7th of March, that is the first Tuesday of the month of March, we'll be discussing on basics of percentages, wherein I'll be covering the concepts of percentages, profit and loss, and simple interest, compound interest, and the questions based on each of these areas, each of these topics that have appeared in the previous year papers of CAT. Now, after that, in today's session, I'll be discussing basics of ratios, in ratios, averages, mixtures, and allegations. And then a detailed session on ratios will be conducted on 14th of March, in which I'll be covering the similar things that I will cover on 7th of March. So on 14th of March, I'll be talking in detail about ratios, averages. Averages will be simple averages and weighted averages, the difference between them, how we can apply in the questions, and then mixtures and allegations. And will also include some of the questions that have appeared in the last 5 years of CAT examinations. Then in today's session, after the basics of ratios, we'll be discussing the basics of time and work, and a detailed session on this will be conducted on 21st of March. Right, you may note down all these dates. And then finally we'll be discussing the basics of time, speed, and distance, the detailed session on which will be conducted on 28th of March. So this is how we are placed in the month of March. So today I'll be discussing briefly about all these areas, and why I have given you the dates in in advance. My agenda is, so after today's session, you will have complete 1 week to work on percentages. So I'll give you 1 week so that you can work on percentages. You can study each and every concept on percentages. And after that, on 7th of March, we'll be talking about these concepts. We'll revise all these concepts and I'll be giving you the questions which are of the level of difficulty of CAT. So basically, I'll be making questions in a refined format. So the level of difficulty of these questions that I'll be taking in these sessions will be slightly higher as compared to what we have seen in the last 5 or 6 year papers of CAT. So I'll not be exactly copying these questions. I'll be changing some of the data so that you will have a certain challenge in front of you. All right. The same thing we'll be doing for ratios, averages, mixtures, and allegations on 14th of March. So after 7th of March, you will again have 1 week to work on the concepts of ratios and its applications. And then we'll have a revision session on 14th of March. After which you'll have again 1 week to work on time and work. We'll discuss everything on 21st of March. And then again 1 week to work on time, speed, distance. And we'll discuss everything on 18th of March. So likewise, we'll be taking each and every topic in this series of sessions that we have prepared for all the aspirants for CAT 2023 and other management entrance examinations that will come around that time. All right. So all of you can be regular as far as these sessions are concerned. So these sessions will take place on every Tuesday. On every Tuesday. Yes. So you can fix these dates in your calendar and attend all these sessions. All right. So that is the brief about the agenda of this session. So let us quickly start with, first of all, understanding what all topics I'll be covering under arithmetic. Now, today, first of all, we'll be discussing on the basic concepts of percentages. I will tell you which all areas are there on which you should start working in the next 1 week. All right. And I'll be touching some of these concepts in today's lecture. Next, we'll be talking about ratios, averages, mixtures, and allegations, their basic concepts, and the things that you need to prepare for the upcoming sessions. The same thing will happen for time and work. I'll be discussing two different techniques of handling the questions of time and work, and we'll be taking an example to show you the difference between these techniques. Finally, we'll be talking about time, speed, distance, the different areas that comes under time, speed, distance, such as average speeds, relative speeds. But before that, we'll also be talking about the conversion from one unit of any of these things to another unit. All right. So this will be the entire agenda for today's lecture. All right. So let us quickly begin with looking at the basics of percentages. All right. So the basics of percentages. The first thing that I want to discuss here is percentage change. Now, percentage change is one of the very important areas as far as percentage basics is concerned. Now, percentage change will be used at every place, like in the questions of percentages, definitely. This will also be tested in the questions of data interpretation. And this will also be helpful. Like if you understand what percentage change is, then you don't need to learn any formula as far as the profit and loss is concerned and simple interest and compound interest is concerned. So if you have seen the chapters of profit and loss and simple interest, compound interest, so generally in each and every book, you will see different formulas for each of these concepts. Now I'm strictly against the formulas, and I think that if I can understand the concepts of any of the topics, if I understand the basics of any of the topics, then using those basics, I can solve each and every question. The most important thing is with less amount of time. I can save upon time if I understand the basics, but if I will keep on running after the formulas, then it might be possible that I'll end up wasting a lot of time. And the most I'll say the most negative thing about remembering the formulas is in case a question comes up in front of you in the examination and you forget that formula, so then you will be in a very bad situation at that time. But अगर आपको concepts पता है सारे के सारे, there is no need to remember those formulas. There is no need to put burden on your mind. And just with the help of those concepts, you can solve each and every question. So let us quickly start with understanding what percentage change is. Now, let's say there is an initial value of 35 and there is a final value of 45. All right. Now I can say that initial value is lower as compared to the final value. So in this case, the value is increasing. So we have to find out the percentage by which the value has increased. All right. So the formula, the simple thing that you need to remember about percentage changes. So percentage change is equal to the change in value divided by the initial value multiplied by 100. So remember that the percentage change is always calculated on the initial value, never calculated on the final value. All right, I'll repeat this thing. The percentage change is always calculated on the initial value as the base. It is never calculated on the final value. So in this case, the change is by 10. Okay, so 35 is the initial value, 45 is the final value. So there is a change in value by 10 over the initial value of 35 multiplied by 100. All right, now you can simplify this and get your answer. Now, how to work on these calculations, I'll be covering it today as well as in the session that I have dedicated towards percentages only. All right. So percentage changes change upon initial value multiplied by 100. Now the nature of change can be either increase or decrease. As you can see in this question, it was a percentage increase, right? Initial value was lower as compared to the final value. Now in case initial value, let's say it is 45 and the final value is 35. So again, there is a change of 10 but over the initial value of 45. So हम कभी कभी गलती क्या करते हैं, हम डिनोमिनेटर में हमेशा लोअर वैल्यू रख देते हैं. So some of you might commit a mistake by calculating the percentage change as 10 divided by 35. No, 35 डिनोमिनेटर में नहीं होना चाहिए. So the denominator will always be the initial value. Initial value कम है या ज्यादा है उससे कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ रहा है. So in the denominator will always be keeping the initial value which is 45 in this case and then multiplied by 100. Okay. Now you will notice that in the second example that I have taken, 45, which is the initial value, is more than the final value. Okay, so initial value is more than the final value. So I can say that there is a percentage decrease in this particular case. All right, so this is percentage change. Change divided by initial value multiplied by 100. Okay, now let's move on to the next concept. Now the next concept is successive percentage change. Now, one of the most important concepts, and this particular concept can be used as a shortcut at a lot of places, right? It will definitely save plenty of time. So let us understand what do I mean by successive percentage change. Now, before that, I would like to go back to the percentage change, okay? And we'll give you an illustration. So let's say there is an initial value of 100. First of all, it is increased by 20 percentage. Okay, then what will be the final value? Now earlier, initial and final values were given and I told you to calculate the percentage change. Now, in this case, initial value is given, the percentage change is given, and you have to find out the final value. So all the students who are there in this session, please show your presence by answering to these questions. Okay, so please communicate, please show your presence, then only you'll be able to learn the things that I'm teaching you. Okay, so initial value is 100 and there is an increase of 20%. So what should be the final value in this case? Come on, give me an answer. Now, what I'll do is I'll calculate 20 percentage of 100, which by value will be equal to 20. And then 20 will be added to the initial value. So the final value will be 100 plus 20, and that is equal to 120. All right, simple as that, right? Now, next, let's say if I'll give you a different question. So all of you now, thank you, Yash. Thank you, Sudhanshu, for responding. I suggest other students to do the same thing. So now let's say initial value is 120 and there is an increase of 30% on this value. What will be the final value? So 120 is the initial value, increase of 30%. So I'll calculate 30% of 120. So 30% of 120 by value, it will be 36. Okay. So the final value will be 120 plus 36. That is 156. Okay. So this is how we calculate the final value when initial value and the percentage change are given. Let's take one more illustration. Let's say the initial value is 130 and it is decreased by 10%. So there is a decrease in this case. Now what will be the final value? It's simple as that. So I'll calculate 10% of 130, which is 13, and I'll reduce 130 by 13. Okay, so the final value will look like 130 minus 13, and that is 117. Okay, so this is how we calculate the final value when initial and the percentage change is given. Okay. Now, let's talk about our next concept, that is successive percentage change. Now, what do I first of all mean by this word successive? Now, successive means one after the other. So if there is a change that is happening on the same value successively, then to find out the net percentage change, initially I'll calculate only the net percentage change, and then in the session which is dedicated for percentages, I'll explain you the other usages of this formula. Okay, so आज हम सिर्फ normal successive percentage change पे work करेंगे, how to calculate the net percentage change, and then in my next session I'll be discussing some different uses of this formula as well. All right, so I'll give you an illustration. So let's say there is an initial value which I don't know. It is first of all increased by 20%, and then further it is increased by 30%. Okay, now after this successive change of 20% followed by an increase of 30%, I have to find out the net percentage change in the value of the given number. Okay, so अब इस क्वेश्चन को किस तरीके से प्रोसीड करेंगे? Now, एक simple सी चीज which I want to tell you about percentages, using which you can save plenty of your time. Now, in this question that I've asked you, everything is given in terms of percentages. सब कुछ percentages की terms में दिया हुआ है. So, whenever in any question you find that everything is given in terms of percentages, then just to simplify the solution of that question, you can start this question by assuming the initial value as 100. So initial value को 100 assume कर सकते हो. Okay. So in this case, if I'll assume the initial value as 100, so first of all, this is increased by 20%. So what will be the final value? The final value will be 120. All right. Now further, this value is increased by 30%. So that means the resulting value 120 will now be increased by 30%, which will result in the final value of 156. We have already seen this thing in different parts. Okay. Now I have the initial value of 100 and the final value is 156. Now from 100 to 156, what is the percentage change? What is the percentage change? Or I can call it a net percentage change. So the net percentage change is change, which is 56 divided by initial value multiplied by 100, and that will come out to be 56%. Okay, so I can say that if a value is increased by 20% and then further it is increased by 30%, then there is a net percentage change of 56%. All right, fine. Now, generally we commit a mistake and we say that if a value is increased by 20% and then further increased by 30%, then there is a net percentage change of the sum of these numbers, which is 50%. But no, this is not correct. All right. So there is a net percentage change of 56%. अब ये ऐसा क्यों हुआ? The simple reason is the second change happened on the increased value. Okay, the second change happened on the increased value, not on the initial value. And that is why the net percentage change is more than the sum of these percentage changes individually. Okay, this is the only reason of this number being 56 instead of 50. All right. Now you understand what we are trying to calculate here. Now, how to do the same thing using a shorter method. So there is a direct formula for finding the net percentage change whenever you are dealing with successive percentage change. So let us understand this formula. The formula is A plus B plus A into B divided by 100. So this is the formula that can be used to calculate net percentage change whenever you have successive percentage changes. Okay. Now, it is very important to understand the usage of this formula, or first of all, basically how to calculate the values, how to feed the values, how to put the values of A and B in this formula. Okay. So सबसे पहले देखते हैं कि ये formula use कैसे करते हैं. Right. So if I'll say that there is an increase of 20 percentage followed by an increase of 30 percentage. The formula is, I'm writing it on the left hand side top of the screen. The formula is A plus B plus A into B divided by 100. Okay. Now, if there is an increase, the value will be in terms of positive. If there is a decrease, the value will be negative. Now, in this case, there is an increase of 20% followed by an increase of 30%. So in the above formula, I'll substitute A as plus 20 and B as plus 30. So A or B को plus 20 and plus 30 substitute कर देंगे. Substituting in the formula, we'll get the net percentage change as 20 plus 30 plus 20 multiplied by 30 divided by 100. Upon solving, 20 plus 30 is 50, and then this part, 20 multiplied by 30 is 600, 600 upon 100 is 6. So 20 plus 30 plus 6 will be 56 percentage. It is the same answer that we have calculated using the normal percentage change. Okay, so net percentage change in this case will be 56 percentage. Let's take one more example. So let's say there is an increase of 20% followed by a decrease of 30%. Okay. Now, since there is an increase of 20%, the value of A will be plus 20, but the value of B will be minus 30 because there is a decrease of 30%. Now, substitute A as 20 and B as minus 30 in the same formula, and you will get the net percentage change. Okay, so 20 minus 30 plus, carefully, 20 into minus 30. So this is one step where we commit mistake, the third part of this formula. Okay, so 20 minus 30 is minus 10, and then 20 into minus 30 is minus 600. Minus 600 upon 100 is minus 6. So there is a net change of minus 16 percentage, or I can say that there will be a net decrease of 16 percentage. Decrease of 16 percentage. All right, fine. So you have to be very careful while you are applying this formula. Careful about substituting the values of A and B. Just careful about considering the signs of A and B in the given formula. All right, fine. So that was successive percentage change. Now let's move forward and look at the third thing. The most important thing here is percentage equivalence of fractions. Now, this is another way using which you will be able to save plenty of your time in the calculations. So, जो final calculations होंगी वहां पे बहुत time save हो सकता है. Now, if you remember, while solving percentage change, we encountered a calculation like 10 upon 35 multiplied by 100. Okay, 10 upon 35 multiplied by 100. So हम normally इसको कैसे solve करते हैं? We cancel the common factors, all right, and then we calculate 200 divided by 7. अब 200 को 7 से divide करेंगे हम, right? But before you encounter such calculations, let's say if you remember the percentage equivalence of fractions, then it will be very easy, it will be very fast for you to finally calculate the answer of these type of calculations. So let us understand, what do I mean by percentage equivalence of fractions. So I'll open a blank sheet for this. So percentage equivalence of fractions का मतलब क्या है? Let's say there is a fraction of 1 by 2. Okay, so 1 by 2 is basically half. In terms of percentages, if I want to convert, I'll multiply it by 100 and I write it as 50 percentage. Okay, now 1 by 2 looks easy, but if I look at another fraction which is 1 by 7, so 1 by 7, if I want to convert it in terms of percentages, I'll multiply it by 100, then 100 divided by 7. I will calculate and find the answer as 14.28 percentage. Now, there are certain fractions which are frequently used in the examination. Okay, there are lots of fractions जो बहुत ज़्यादा use होती हैं. Now, if I directly remember their percentage equivalence of fractions, then I can save plenty of time in performing these calculations in the actual examination. So अगर तुम पहले से ही 1 by 7 को learn कर लोगे that the percentage equivalent of 1 by 7 is 14.28, then it will be easy for you to calculate 2 by 7 as well. So if 1 by 7 is 14.28, then 2 by 7 will be double of this. That is 2 multiplied by 14.28, and that is 28.56 percentage. All right. Going back to the previous screen, we have seen 200 upon 7. So 200 upon 7 kitna hoga? It will be 28.56. So you just need to calculate 2 by 7, or you just need to remember 1 by 7, which is 14.28, and you can calculate any multiple of this fraction. So 1 by 7, if I'll remember as 14.28, then 2 by 7 will be double of this, which is 28.56. 3 by 7 will be triple of this, which is 42.84, and so on. Okay, so you just need to remember one fraction, that is 1 upon 7, and everything will be based on that. Okay, so similarly, if you can remember the percentage equivalence of fractions like 1 by 3, which is 33.33 percentage, then 1 by 4, which is 25 percentage, 1 by 5, which is 20 percentage, 1 by 6, which is 16.67 percentage, 1 by 7 I've already covered there. Let's say 1 by 9, which is 11.11 percentage. Likewise, if you can remember percentage equivalence of fractions starting from 1 by 2 up till 1 by 30, then it will be beneficial for you. Now, the values of all these percentage equivalence of fractions are not independent. So you don't have to remember all these numbers independently. No, you don't have to. So there is a dependency. There is a relation between certain values which will reduce the efforts. So like 1 by 2 is 50%. 1 by 2 50% होता है. तो 1 by 4 उसका आधा होगा. It will be half of 50%. That is 25 percentage. 1 by 8 will be further half of this number, that is 12.5 percentage. 1 by 16 will be further half. अब यहाँ पे क्या हो रहा है? Every time I am dividing the original fraction by 2 to obtain the new fraction. So 1 by 8 को 2 से divide करेंगे तो 1 by 16 आ जाएगा. अब 1 by 16 कितना होता है? Can you all tell me 1 by 16 कितना होगा? So all of you can write it. 1 by 16 will be half of this number, that is 6.25 percentage. All right. So likewise, you can establish a certain relation between these fractions. So if I start with 1 by 3, which is 33.33 percentage. So 1 by 6, you don't have to remember independently. So initially you can use this thing that I'm telling you. With due practice, you will remember all these fractions. So 1 by 6 will be half of 33.33. ठीक है, 1 by 6 33.33 का half होगा, that is 16.67 percentage. Further 1 by 12 इसका भी half होगा, that is 8.33 percentage. 1 by 24 will be further half of this, that is 4.16 percentage, and so on. So this is how you can establish a relation between percentage equivalence of fractions. And before my next lecture on 7th of March, I want all of you to go through with all these basics of percentages. Then only you will be able to understand the application of all these concepts in the questions that we'll be doing in that session. All right. So this is about the basics of percentages. Now let's move forward and look at the basics of ratios. Now under ratios, we have a lot of topics. So starting with the basic ratios. So what all you need to know about ratios? Okay. So first of all, what ratio is? Ratio is the comparison between two or more like quantities, right? So how do we obtain the ratio between any numbers? The ratio is obtained by cancelling the common factors, okay? And like this is the most important thing, by cancelling the common factors. So let's say you have two numbers, 55 and 65. Now, if I want to represent the simplest ratio of these numbers, so from 55 and 65, I can take out the common factors, which is 5. So if I take out 5, the ratio will become 11 is to 13. Okay, so I can say that 11 is to 13 is the simplest ratio for these numbers. All right, so one way is cancelling the common factors. But if you have numbers like 55.5 and 65.5, to obtain their simplest ratio, first of all, I'll remove the decimal sign. So decimal को remove करने के लिए I'll multiply both sides by 10. So these numbers will become 555 is to 655. Now, whatever common factors are there, like there is a common factor of 5, so it will become 111 is to 131. Now, 111 is to 131. Now, there is no common factor among these two numbers. So, I can say that this is the simplest ratio of these two numbers. Okay, right? So, one basic thing is finding or obtaining the simplest ratio. Now, another thing about ratios is the compounded ratio. So, if you are given that A is to B is 3 is to 5 and B is to C is 5 is to 7. I am starting with a very simple example. So, if these two ratios are given, and I'll ask you to calculate the value of A is to B is to C, then what will be the value? Come on. What will be A is to B is to C? What will be this ratio? Yes, anyone? What will be this ratio? What will be A is to B is to C? Now, what you can see here is in these two ratios, B is common, and corresponding to B, the values which are written are also same. So you can easily merge this ratio and write that A is to B is to C will be 3 is to 5, which is common, is to C. C के corresponding value क्या है? 7. All right, this is simple. So the common link between these two ratios was B, and the value corresponding to B was also same. All right. Now what will happen in this situation if I say that A is to B is 3 is to 5 and B is to C is 6 is to 7. Now how will you calculate A is to B is to C for this particular case? I'll give you a few seconds, after which I'll start explaining. Okay. So have a look at this. The common link between them is B, but the values corresponding to B in these two ratios are different. Now, what you need to do is you need to make these numbers same. Okay. So take some time and try to give me an answer for this. Yash, good. Harsh, you are also responding. Sudhanshu, nice. Now what will happen for this case? Now I'll try to make this part same. So during the simplification of ratios, just now I have told you to obtain the simplest ratio, you can cancel out the common factor, or to obtain the simplest ratio, you can also multiply both sides by the same number, like we have multiplied by 10. Now to obtain or to make the value of b common, I'll multiply the first ratio by 6. So the first ratio will become 18 is to 30. And then multiply second ratio by 5, and this will become 30 is to 35. Now in this process, what I have done is I have made the value of b same in both the ratios. So now a is to b is to c can be written as 18 is to 30 is to 35. 18 is to 30 is to 35. All right. So this is very important thing in case of ratios, right? Okay. Now moving ahead, the next important area in ratios and its applications is averages. You will find plenty of questions coming in the examination from averages. So ratios से इतने ज़्यादा question नहीं आते, but averages से बहुत ज़्यादा questions आते हैं. Now averages, this chapter is divided in two parts, simple average and then the weighted average. All right. Now I'll take very simple examples of both of them. So first of all, if I look at simple average, so in simple average, let's say you are given some numbers, individual numbers, and you have to find out their average. Okay. So average calculated in this manner is called the simple average. So the formula that will apply for average in this case will be sum of all the terms divided by the number of terms. Okay, so simply add all these terms and divide it by the number of terms and you will obtain the simple average. Now weighted average is slightly a different thing. Now in weighted average, let's say, I'll take an example. So there is a group of girls. So the number of girls is 8 and their average marks in an examination is 20. All right. There is another group of boys and let's say there are 3 boys and their average marks in the same examination is 18. All right. So 8 girls whose average marks is 20 and there are 3 boys whose average marks is 18. Now if I combine this group of girls and boys, then what will be the average of this entire group of children? So the average that is calculated in this manner is called the weighted average. So how will I find the average here? So the basic formula for average will remain the same, which is sum divided by number of terms, right? So first of all, I'll calculate the sum. Now for girls, number of girls is 8 and the average is 20. So sum for girls will be 8 into 20. All right. That is 160. And the sum separately for boys will be equal to 3 multiplied by 18. That is 54. All right. So the entire average, the net average for this entire group of students will be the total sum, that is 160 plus 54 divided by the total number of children. So total number of children will be number of girls plus the number of boys. So the average that is calculated in this manner is called the weighted average. Simple as that. All right, fine. Now moving ahead, then the application of averages will be used in the chapter of mixtures and allegations. Okay, now mixtures and allegations is again a very important area from which you will definitely find at least one question in your examination. So when it comes to CAT may every year we have seen one question, at least one question coming from averages, mixtures and allegations. All right, fine. So this is the basics of ratios. Now let's move ahead and look at the third thing, the time and work. So time and work, again, an important area. One or two questions you will definitely find in every set of the CAT examination. Now the questions of time and work generally can be solved using two different methods. Now one is the fraction method and the other one is LCM method. Okay. So I'll quickly illustrate these two methods of calculations. Okay, taking a very basic example. So let's say there are three people, A, B, and C. Individually, A, B, and C can finish a piece of work in 15 days, 20 days, and let's say 25 days. All right, this is given, and you are asked to find out in how many days the work will be finished if A, B, and C will work together. Okay, so the given is A individually can finish in 15 days, B in 20 days, and C in 25 days. Now, using the first method, that is the fraction method, I can say that if A can finish the entire piece of work in 15 days, then 1 day work of A will be 1 by 15th of the total work. So A will finish 1 by 15th fraction of the total work in 1 day, right? Similarly, if I talk about B's 1 day work, so B's 1 day work will be 1 upon 20, and 1 day work of C will be 1 by 25. So this is the fraction of total work that will be finished by A, B, and C respectively in 1 day each. Now, since they all are working together, I can say that the net 1 day work will be the sum of 1 day work of each of A, B, and C, right? Now, I'll add all these numbers. That will give you the 1 day work when A, B, and C will work together. So taking the LCM here, 15, 20, and 25, इनका LCM कितना हो जाएगा? It will be 300. So 20 plus 15 plus 12. So that is equal to 47 upon 300. So 47 upon 300 units of work is finished by all three of them in a single day. So the entire work will be finished by them in the reciprocal of this number, that is 300 upon 47 days. Okay, so if A, B, and C will work together, the work will be finished in 300 upon 47 days. All right, this is the first method, fraction method. So as you can see, there are plenty of fractions involved in this question. Okay, looking at the second method. Second method is the LCM method, where what we do is at the beginning, we will assume the value of total work. Okay, we'll assume the value of the total work in terms of units of work. Okay, now this total work can be assumed as any common factor, any common multiple of these three numbers. So 15, 20, and 25 का कोई भी common multiple assume कर लो. The best will be the least common multiple of these numbers. ठीक है? So इन तीनों का least common multiple, which is 300, can be assumed as the total work in units. Like I mentioned that it can be any common multiple. So even if you'll assume total work as 600, 900, 3000, 15,000, any number, the final answer will remain same. Okay. So first step is I have started by assuming the total work as 300. Okay. Okay, Shraddha is asking, sir, फिर से step करो ना, explain. Shraddha, I don't know which step you're talking about, but I will start from the beginning. The first method, the fraction method. Okay. Now, Shraddha, if A can finish the entire piece of work in 15 days, right? Entire piece of work in 15 days, working uniformly. So on each day, A will finish 1 by 15th of the total work. Right? If I can finish entire piece of work in 2 days, 2 दिन में अगर मैं finish कर देता हूं, so every day I'll be doing half the work, half the fraction of the work. Okay. So similarly, A can finish 1 by 15, B can finish 1 by 20, and C can finish 1 by 25 of the total work in 1 day. Okay. So मैंने क्या किया? सबसे पहले I've calculated 1 day work of each of them in terms of fractions. Now, since all of them are working together, A, B, and C are working together, so together in 1 day, they will finish the sum of the individual work that they can finish in 1 day. Okay, so 1 day work of A plus 1 day work of B plus 1 day work of C will be the net 1 day work if A, B, and C will work together. Okay. So net one day work came out to be, I've added these numbers taking the LCM. So addition ये खुद से समझना पड़ेगा, बहुत basic चीज है. So I've got 47 upon 300 in one day. So one day work is 47 upon 300. So the total number of days required will be the reciprocal of this, that is 300 upon 47. This is only the unitary method that I've applied. Okay, fine. I hope I'm clear. Second method, I've started by assuming the total work as 300. So if A can finish this 300 units of work in 15 days, 15 days में 300 units काम कर लेता है, तो one day work of A will be 300 upon 15, that is 20. So 20 will be the one day work of A. Similarly, one day work of B, 20 days में 300 units काम करता है. So one day में कितना करेगा? 300 upon 20, that is 15. And similarly for C, it will be 12. So the net one day work will be 47 units. Okay. So A, B, and C can finish 47 units of work in one day. So in how many days they will finish 300 units of work? So it will be 1 upon 47 into 300, and that will come out to be 300 upon 47 days. So that is the same answer that we have got in the first method. Okay. So when you will practice questions, when you will get into solving the questions of time and work after after focusing on the concepts of time and work, then during the concepts, you will encounter these two different methods in every book. Okay, so every faculty, every book will explain these two methods. Now it's totally up to you, whichever method you are comfortable with, you can solve the questions using any of these methods. Both the methods are applicable in every question. Now, I generally solve the questions using second method, right? But there are certain questions in which the first method will be beneficial. So, as soon as you will get into the practice of these questions, you will also get a better understanding of which formula or which method to be used in which type of question. Okay, so initially you can keep yourself open. You can use any of these methods, but later on, when you have already practiced more than 50 questions using both the methods, then you will start judging, you will start finding out which method is more beneficial for which type of question. All right, आगे चलते हैं. Now the next thing is time, speed, and distance. So again, very important. So all these four topics that we have seen are very important because arithmetic is one area which has the maximum weightage in every examination. Now, starting with the relation between time, speed, and distance, you all know that distance is equal to speed multiplied time. Now, you can write this formula in any manner. The formula will remain same. You can write speed is equal to distance upon time, or you may write time is equal to distance upon speed. All the three formulas are absolutely same. Okay. Now, the important thing about time, speed, distance at the initial stages is understanding the conversion between the different units of time, speed, and distance. Okay, so first of all, distance. So generally, the units that are used for distance are kilometers and meters. Okay, the conversion is 1 kilometer is equal to 1000 meters. So these are two units that are frequently used in the examination. Now, if they will be using any other unit, let's say miles, or like instead of kilometer, they may use hectometer, decameter, or any other unit, they will definitely give you the conversion of that unit, or probably the conversion will not be required in that question. Okay, so this is about distance. Now for time, the units used are hour, minutes, and seconds. So 1 hour you would be knowing in terms of minutes is 60 minutes. 1 minute is equal to 60 seconds. Or you can say that combining these two, 1 hour is equal to 3600 seconds. Okay. The third conversion, hour and seconds. These are the two units that are frequently used when it comes to the units of time. Now, finally, the place where we commit mistake are the units of speed. Okay, so we don't do the conversion and we use the speed as meter per second in the questions where the units of distance are given in kilometers or time is given in hours. So please be careful about the conversion of the units of speed. Now, speed generally you will find in two forms, kilometer per hour or meters per second. Okay, so from kilometer per hour to meter per second, if you want to go, then multiply by 5 by 18. So multiply by 5 by 18 from kilometer per hour to meter per second. Vice versa, from meter per second to kilometer per hour, you can multiply by 18 divided by 5. 18 upon 5 से multiply कर सकते हैं. Okay, so this is how you can convert from one unit of speed to another unit of speed. Kilometer per hour to meter per second and vice versa. All right. Now moving forward, the next concept is the concept of average speeds. So average speed during any journey is not calculated by taking the average of speeds. No, never. Average speed is not the average of speeds. It is equal to the total distance traveled divided by the total time taken. Okay, total distance upon total time. So for instance, let's say a person covers this entire journey of 200 kilometers in two parts. So let's say अभी इसको 200 kilometers को हटा देते हैं. Let's say this entire journey is divided in two parts. So the first part is 75 kilometers and the second part is 125 kilometers. So for the first part, let's say the speed was 15 kilometer per hour, and for the second part, the speed is 5 kilometer per hour. Okay, now we have to find out the average speed of this person for the entire journey, right? Now what we'll do is we have the distance in this case that will give us the total distance. To find out the average speed, we also require the total time taken for this entire journey. Now, since this journey is divided in two parts, so the time taken in the first case will be distance upon speed, that is 75 divided by 15, which will be 5 hours. Then time taken in the second part of this journey, 125 divided by 5, that will be 25 hours. Okay, so in the first part, the time taken is 5 hours, and in the second case, the time taken is 25 hours. So now I can find out the average speed, which will be total distance, which is 75 plus 125 divided by the total time taken, which will be 5 plus 25. All right. So the final answer will be 200 upon 30 or 20 upon 3 or 6.67 kilometers per hour. So units are very important. So the average speed for this entire journey will be 6.67 kilometer per hour. All right. So this is how we calculate the average speed of any given journey, which is covered in different parts, right? Now let's move ahead and look at the final thing, that is relative speeds, the concept of relative speeds. So there are two things that you need to know in relative speeds. When the objects are traveling in same direction and when the objects are traveling in opposite direction, what will be the relative speed? So when the objects are traveling in same direction, the relative speed of these objects will be the difference of their speed. Okay, the difference of the speeds. So they are traveling in same direction. That means one object chasing the other object. Like a policeman is chasing a thief. All right, or a dog is chasing a person. So in those type of questions, We use the concept of relative speeds, where the relative speed will be the difference of the speeds because the objects are traveling in the same direction. Also, if the objects are traveling in the opposite direction, that means either towards each other, they are traveling in opposite direction, they are traveling towards each other or away from each other. Then the relative speed will be the sum of their individual speeds. Okay, so this is what you need to remember as a concept of relative speeds, right? Now, majority of the questions of time, speed, distance are based on this concept of relative speed. So this is a very important concept that you need to cover. All right. So friends, this is all about the basics of arithmetic, the introductory session on that. And like I have told you initially at the beginning of this session, I'll be spending the next 1 month, I'll be spending the next 4 weeks and will be covering each of these things in separate sessions. So I'll once again repeat that on 7th of March, we'll be discussing percentages and its applications in profit and loss and simple interest, compound interest in detail. Okay. And I'll also be covering plenty of questions on these areas. Then on 14th of March, we'll be looking at the questions on averages, mixtures, and allegations. These are the application of ratios. Then on 21st of March, we'll be looking at time and work and pipes and systems. And then on 28th of March, we'll be covering the questions of time, speed, and distance. All right. So this will be the schedule for all the students who are preparing for CAT 2023 and the other management entrance examinations. This is the schedule for the next 4 weeks. So these sessions will all be conducted on Tuesdays. So please wait and watch. Do subscribe to our YouTube channel of BYJU'S Exam Prep so that you will not miss the notification of any of these sessions in future. That's all from my side. Also, in case you are looking to join any of the batches at BYJU'S Exam Prep, so yes, the new batches are available. And the course that we offer, CAT 2023 Comprehensive Program, the complete details are on your screen. So there will be 300 plus videos which will have a content of more than 130 hours. There will be 135 plus live sessions. That means more than 200 hours of live lectures will be there. Mock papers and the practice test will also be available in this program. Practice questions, more than 10,000 questions on CAT and non-CAT examinations. There will be recorded lectures, so 300 plus hours of engaging videos, and GDPI VAT 15 plus Power Pack sessions will also be there. Study notes will also be provided to all of you, and CAT question papers will also be a part of this program. So please do join this program by getting a scholarship of up to 90%. So yes, on 4th of March, we are conducting a scholarship test for all the aspirants of CAT 2023. So in case you want to get into any of these programs, do take this scholarship test and register for the scholarship test. Limited seats are available. So please do register as soon as possible. Also, Saral Sir is conducting a wonderful session on why MBA is the right career choice. So if you are confused about doing MBA, you have any questions related to that, so please be a part of this session today at 7 p.m., 28th of February at 7 p.m. That's all from my side. Please get social with us on these social media platforms. Thank you very much. We'll see you once again with the detailed session on percentages and its applications on the next Tuesday. Have a wonderful time. Bye bye.